Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to be taking a look at the next rotation, and I know it's a little bit early, but I like to get these rotation prediction videos out kind of early, because whenever the rotation is announced, everybody comes out of the woodwork and goes, called it, that's exactly what I said. I like to be the dude who's got the video there going, no, here's me proof. Here's me proof. So what is the next rotation going to be? It's going to be Team Up On. This is one of the easier to predict rotations that we've had, basically ever. You see, several years ago, Pokemon came out and said very clearly they want 4 sets rotated every year. That is their goal. It doesn't always happen. In fact, in the next 4 or 5 years after that announcement, they rotated 4 sets once. But that is their goal. Every year they release 4 sets, every year they rotate 4 sets, so they start every year with roughly the same amount of standard legal cards. Now if we go to a Team Up On rotation, we will be rotating 4 sets. We will be rotating Ultra Prism, Forbidden Light, Celestial Storm, and Lost Thunder. And don't worry, we'll have a brief little aperitif, a quick look at the impact of this rotation. It's not going to be like last year, that would be silly. And essentially here, don't worry, by the way, when the rotation is announced properly, I'll do what I usually do, where I go set by set, looking at the rotation, look at the decks we're losing, etc., etc. I'll do a deep dive on the rotation like I do every year. This is just a little prediction video. Don't count Dragon Majesty. I'm not saying Dragon Majesty isn't fun. I'm not saying there aren't good cards in Dragon Majesty. I am saying that Dragon Majesty is not a real set. And I don't mean that with any disrespect. I mean we get real sets released every year in February, May, August, and November. We get 4 real sets released every year. We get a real set every 3 months. Dragon Majesty is a mini set, which had about 1/3 to 1/2 of the number of cards we would expect in a real set, and was released as its own thing off to the side, separate from the regular sets. I mean, no disrespect to Dragon Majesty, but it's not a real set. It doesn't count in the we're rotating 4 sets. So we're losing Ultra Prism, Forbidden Light, Celestial Storm, and Lost Thunder, and we're rotating to Team Up On. So one of my reasons, very simply, is that we are going to be losing 4 sets like Pokemon want us to. But another reasoning is Team Up was the start of the tag teams. Tag teams like Pikachu and Zekrom made their debut in Team Up. So by rotating to Team Up onwards, we would be keeping all of the Sun and Moon sets that had tag teams, and we would be rotating all the Sun and Moon sets that didn't have tag teams. We would basically be getting rid of everything pre-tag teams, and we would be keeping every tag team in the game. Now that does sound sensible, but there would be one quirk, as it were, and that is that most of the Prism stars would rotate out, but we would actually be keeping a few Prism stars. We would be keeping exactly 4 Prism star cards. In terms of Pokemon, we would be keeping Shaymin and Tapu Koko. And in terms of stadiums, we would be keeping Wonder Labyrinth and Black Market. And points to irony for the fact that when getting rid of Fairy Pokemon, one of the very few Prism stars we're keeping is Wonder Labyrinth. Now, these are actually quite good. Shaymin is great in any deck that plays a lot of basic energy, especially grass. I'm largely here looking at Rillaboom decks. And Tapu Koko is obviously phenomenal in all lightning decks. Black Market Prism Star is fun because it reduces the amount of prizes given up by Darkness Pokemon, but it's not been a powerhouse card since release. And Wonder Labyrinth Prism Star increasing the cost of non-fairy Pokemon has been a really good card, and it's interesting that it's not always been played in fairy decks. One of the biggest decks that plays it at the moment is Grimmsnarl, because Grimmsnarl doesn't care as much as you do, and it's a Darkness Pokemon, which I find kind of interesting. But the point here, very simply, is that those Prism Stars would stay, and every other Prism Star card would be rotated out. Now that is actually kind of annoying, and I know that one of the reasons I said team up on is the fact that we would get that nice break as tag teams came in. We cannot get a nice break of both, so we would end up in a very strange situation where 4 Prism Stars would be legal out of the 27 that actually got released. Oh. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. We would be keeping 4 out of 27. Or if you want it as a percentage, just a smidge under 15%. Now, to be clear, getting rid of Prism Stars would actually kind of suck. Lightning decks would hate losing Thunder Mountain Prism Star, because it's a combination of Thunder Mountain Prism Star and Tapu Koko that let stuff like Pikachu and Zekrom attack turn 1 and use full blitz. Losing it would be pretty huge. Losing Ditto Prism Star would be terrible for Stage 1 decks that get so much of an advantage from using it. Losing Diancie Prism Star would suck for fighting decks because there's 20 less damage that they're doing. Losing Beast Energy would suck for Ultra Beast decks because there's 30 less damage that they get to do now. Losing Prism Stars would be kinda sucky. Except we'd keep a couple of them. Actually, a couple more. Solgaleo Prism Star, great in metal decks. That would be a really big loss. And Super Boost Energy, which is lovely in Stage 2 decks. And we finally got to a stage where Stage 2 decks might actually be viable. It would kind of suck that we would be losing them. Now, I don't intend to sit here and go massively through every set, but I do want to do just a very quick run through the sets to see what we're missing. Honestly, the fact that it's a nice, easy gap and that we are going to be basically cutting off at the start of tag teams is really all I need to be extremely confident it's going to be team up on. The bigger question for me is, when's the rotation going to happen? Traditionally, the rotation has happened on the 1st of September after the World Championships, but last year it happened before. We've also got a weird quirk of timing with Worlds this year, in that the new set is legal the week after Worlds. This is Sword and Shield free, whereas usually the new set is legal at Worlds, or at least for the past few years that's been the trend. So if we don't rotate early, the format we've got for Worlds is going to be the exact same format we've had since my daughter's 2nd birthday on the 15th of May. Which I don't love. So I do believe that we are going to have a rotation just before Worlds. I'm not quite so sure about that, but it seems like a fairly sensible prediction to me. Now, when we look at Ultra Prism, the biggest loss would be Cynthia. Cynthia being that supporter card, shuffle your hand into your deck, draw 6 cards. Although Cynthia would be a big loss, we've got Professor's Research, which is awesome. And we've still got Marnie, which I know only draws you 5, but it draws you 5 while slowing down your opponent. So, honestly here, I'm not so worried about losing Cynthia. Though we would also lose Lily, which is another pretty good draw card. So, we'd lose a couple of draw cards, but I don't think we would lose enough to really make it suck. We'd still have Erica's Hospitality, for instance, given that that came out in Team Up. So, I'm not worried about our draw options here. I think we'd be alright. I think we'd get away with it. One of the other huge losses we would have here is a skateboard. A skateboard is used at the moment with Jirachi, and it's phenomenal. Jirachi's got a ridiculous ability. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, find a trainer, put it in your hand, Jirachi goes to sleep. But then a skateboard lets you retreat even if you're asleep and reduces your retreat cost by 1, which lets Jirachi retreat for free. Except we wouldn't have that anymore. So Jirachi would become way worse overnight. There are things you could do. You could be playing something like Galarian Rapidash so you couldn't be affected by special conditions, then use U-turn board to retreat Jirachi. That would absolutely be an option, but the point is, Jirachi, even though it would stay in the format, would get significantly worse overnight. Moving into Forbidden Light, if there's any you think I'm missing, by the way, because I am just going for the biggest losses from each set, do chuck them down in the comment section. We can have a lovely little chat down there. I think when it comes to Forbidden Light, the biggest loss is going to be Malamar. And I know that not everyone loves Malamar and all of that, but the fact is it accelerates psychic energy from the discard to your bench Pokemon. It gives speed to them in the way we haven't had for a long time. That's going to suck, frankly. Not having that, it's just going to make all psychic decks worse overnight. Like, instantly overnight. We are also going to lose the first Naganadel GX, which we've seen actually being really good for the Stinger GX attack, especially since Triple Acceleration Energy came out. We just saw that attack win the Oceania International Championship, so yeah, that's kind of big. We'd lose Judge, but honestly, with Marnie, I don't think that would be a huge issue. Metal decks would lose Metal Frying Pan, so they'd now have to play Weakness Guard Energy to try and get rid of their weakness, which is not as easy. And Ultra Beast would really be hurt here. Ultra Beast would lose Ultra Space to search out the Pokemon, and they would lose Beast Ring for the energy acceleration. We've already mentioned Beast Energy in the previous one, when we were talking about Prism Stars. That was in this set as well. So in the same way that Forbidden Light gave a lot of love and new tricks to Ultra Beasts, losing it would very much take them away. Celestial Storm would mostly just cost us tax. Things like Articuno GX, which has been great in stall decks, so that if your opponent builds up one big Pokemon full of energy, the GX attack can get rid of it. Things like Steven's Resolve to search out any free cards, though it does end your turn. Things like Tayton Liza, which is a draw card combined with a switch. Things like Shrine of Punishment to drop damage counters on EX and GX Pokemon between turns. I'm not sure there's anything in the set which is really going to break the game that we've lost it, but there are lots of cards in this set which are kind of fun and kind of good and kind of useful and help out a bunch of decks quite a lot. Moving over into Dragon Majesty, now this was obviously a mini set like we previously mentioned, but there's things like Weller Volcano Park, which with Burning Scarf coming, which is really quite nice for getting burn onto your opponent's Pokemon, and we've seen that see some play. Well, a Volcano Park is going to be missed in those kind of decks. Fiery Flint, to be honest with you, is probably going to be the card that's most missed here, because it's great for searching out those cards in fire decks, though don't sleep on Victini Prism Star, which is a really good non-GX option, especially when you've got lots of energy in your discard pile. So, fire decks are going to miss this set, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to make a little bit of a difference to them. And then finally, moving over into Lost Thunder, we're losing Naganadel. And Naganadel, right, when we revealed this card, I had a look at it, and I called it almost really good. It's one of my biggest misses in predicting cards. I thought it was going to be good, but the fact that the energy had to be kept on it was going to hurt. And then stuff like Quagsire and Blacephalon and a million other cards came along and made me look profoundly stupid. But Macargo GX has come around a bit more lately. That's going to be lost, and that's a bit sad. Zera Aura, which is a great tech in Lightning decks to give free retreat or accelerate any energy you like. That's going to be kind of missed. So that's a little bit sad. But we got Custom Catcher, which is being lost. And Electro Power going away is going to really hurt Lightning decks. Professor Elm's Lecture still sees a fair amount of play here and there, so that's going to be going away. Spell Tag in Psychic decks is going to be a little bit missed. There's going to be a bunch of stuff here. And you might have noticed as we've been going through, there are some decks that are basically going to go away with the rotation. Naganadel focus decks, they're going to be gone. Ultra Beast gets significantly weaker, losing both Naganadels, Beast Ring, Beast Energy, Ultra Space, all that's going away. And although we're still going to have all of the best attackers in Lightning decks, we're going to lose Thunder Mountain Prism Star. We're going to lose Electro Power. We're going to lose Zera Aura. So Lightning decks will carry on, but they will be a lot weaker. I feel extremely confident that this will be the rotation. I feel fairly confident we'll have an early rotation before Worlds, but I am nowhere near as keen on that as I am on the Team Up on rotation. But I like to do these early rotation prediction videos. They're a bit fun, and it means we can have a nice discussion. And the comment section is a place to have that discussion. Tell me if you agree with me, and why, or why you disagree with me, and why. And tell me which cards from these outgoing sets you're going to miss the most, and which decks you think are going to be most impacted by this rotation. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome nonetheless. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.